Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another edition of the On Friar podcast. I am your host, Derek Togerson. Darnay Tripp, take a little bit of time off on this one. So we're just going to get here to kind of share, elaborate, emote, if you will, on a few things. And I want you guys to jump in and join the conversation. We're going to make this really interactive today. On the table of contents for topics of conversation, we're going to have how incredibly good is Fernando Tatis Jr. at playing right field. The pitching staff has really been leading this resurgence in the second half along with, we know Jackson Merrill's hitting. We know Toddy's hitting. Manny's even been hitting. Ty France has been a revelation. But the pitching staff, since the trade deadline, not just the new guys, everybody's been good. We're going to talk about how good they have been. And, of course, going to talk about, Joe Musgrove. Joe Musgrove looks like he is very, very close to a return. We have his next steps, where he's going to be pitching next, and how long it might take after that for him to get back onto a major league mound for the first time since October of 2024. Plenty to get to in this one. Again, hop in the comments. I want to talk with you today. It's the On Friar podcast. We always begin with the walk-up music. All right, what's going on, everybody? By the way, we're trying something a little bit new here. I put on the vertical option for this as well. So if you're watching the On Friar podcast, if you're checking it out live, or if you're watching this on YouTube on the stream a little bit later on, you can watch it a little bit vertically now. I know a lot of folks like to have their phones kind of sitting up like this now as they're checking stuff out on the interwebs. I know I'm old. I still say interwebs. I'm going to be 51 in like 2 weeks. Give me a break here. The information is still really good. All right, Padres coming off a 3-3 road trip, but the good part of this is they took a series in Cleveland, dropped 2 out of 3 to the Mets. And by the way, I know the Mets overall record isn't all that good. They've been playing a lot better in the last 2 weeks or so, right? Andy Green has turned them all the way around. Former Padre manager going to get his help a permanent. No, he's not. They just happen to be turning things around right now because Carson Benz looks like he's going to be a dude. Their pitching staff has gotten a few of their injuries back. So the Mets are actually not as bad a ball club as they've been all year. I'm a little bit ticked off that the Padres dropped 4 out of 6 to them this season. But the important part of this is the Padres in sole possession of the final number 3 National League wild card spot. That means that they control their future. They control whether or not they get in. All they have to do is keep on winning. By the way, nobody come to me with they control their destiny or they control their fate. I can't stand that because destiny and fate, by definition, if you look in the dictionary, cannot be controlled. They are out of our hands. Just kind of have to roll with the punches. So the Padres control their future. They control what they will do and whether or not they will end up in the postseason again for the 3rd straight year or on the outside looking in, which would make all of us kind of go, wow, they might have done a little bit more at the trade deadline. That would have been kind of cool. All right, first up, can we just talk about Fernando Tatis Jr. and the game that he put on Tuesday night? He hits the 2 home runs, all right? That catch that he made in right field, and I know a lot of people around the baseball world have commented on this, but not only was it one of the best pure athletic plays that you will ever see. I mean, look how far up above the ground he is, above the wall he is. We've seen him do this kind of stuff before. 2023 at Petco Park in right field, certainly late in the season. I was over in Las Vegas for a Raiders-Steelers Sunday night football game on NBC when he made that catch, and everybody in the elevators or watching it on the phone goes, we all lost our minds. This catch was better. Again, given the circumstances, taking a homer, a grand slam away from Francisco Lindor to give the Padres their only win in the series. But not only that, can we talk about the coolness factor? To stand there, to pop off, the hat goes flying. He's got the Predator locks flowing. And then to stand there and coolly as can be, toss the ball up and catch it in his bare hand without even watching the ball trail. Look, I can juggle. I have to watch where the ball's going. He tosses it up and out of peripheral vision just catches it right here to show everybody he made the catch. Robbie Ray's reaction, by the way, was fantastic. Glove on the head. Thank God that guy helped me out. that was really the sign for me that, and I know I have been kind of a naysayer on this, and I know he's been, hey man, I'm not sure if Toddy's going to make it all the way back. Toddy not only made it all the way back, Toddy absolutely surpassed it. I mean, he's looking like the guy that he was in 2020, in 2021 when he hit 42 home runs. I mean, he's looking like the guy who was just electric all over the baseball field, offensively, defensively. He's looking like himself again, which is absolutely fantastic. So the fact that he is back and he's got not just the athletic ability and the athleticism, he looks like he has his swagger back. And what I've really noticed a couple of times, his swing has gotten a little big on mistakes in the strike zone, right? Like he's getting a little bit too much. He's like, you tell he's swinging a little bit too hard when he sees a mistake. The times he doesn't do that, wham, opposite field home run, wham, first pitch of the game. The first pitch of the game on Tuesday night, he hits 450 plus feet into the second deck in left field at Citi Field. That was just an easy, smooth, gorgeous swing. Right. Every now and then somebody's going to start feeling themselves get a little bit too big. It happens. But man, I'm loving how he's not falling into that trap that he has many times in his career where he's gone, oh, I hit that ball 440. Next one's going to be 470. And after that's going to be 485. He is getting back to just barreling the baseball on a much more consistent basis and not going to these long slumps where he's trying to do too much. Fantastic. I don't know if it's maturation. I don't know if it's Steven Souza Jr. getting in his ear saying, knock that crap off, just be yourself, or Craig Stammen, whoever it is who's talking to him. He is sticking to his game plan and just being him. And that is a beautiful, wonderful thing for this pitching, for this entire offense, this entire baseball team when Fernando Tatis Jr. is driving the bus. You even see Manny Machado, who, by the way, if you notice, look at how deep in the box he is now. I remember Barry Bloom and I earlier in the year, and yes, Barry's a buddy of mine. I know how a lot of you feel about him, but he's a fantastic baseball mind. We were talking about the stuff on Baseball Savant, and the eye test kind of told us that Manny wasn't catching up to many baseballs. And the first half of his year, the first couple months, was atrocious. He wasn't able to get to velocity at all. So we brought it to his attention, where it was like, hey, man, your bat speed's a little bit slower than it has been. He kind of poo-pooed it because you know how much Manny does not like analytics whatsoever. So he listened, or someone got in his ear and made him do something, because he has moved a full 3 inches back in the batter's box. And it coincides with him all of a sudden turning his season around, hitting the ball with a lot more authority, barreling it a lot more often. He's able to get to velocity now. So what he did was he took that little bit of knowledge of, hey, my hands are a little bit slower than they have. Still elite bat speed around Major League Baseball, but not what he's used to. He's used to being able to wait to the last possible second and then get the hands through because he was such a natural baseball player. Father Time, as Rocky Balboa said, undefeated. He's starting to slow down. So he moved himself 3 inches back in the batter's box. Look next time you see him play how close his back foot is to the back line of the batter's box versus where he was traditionally throughout most of his career, where he was much more neutral. He was followed, 6 inches or so up in front of the back of the line of the batter's box. His front foot was more on line with the front of the plate, which is where a lot of hitters are. Ted Williams is that way. Tony Gwynn was that way. He has to move back a little more now, and that is helping him. Credit to him for making the adjustment. We want our credit for doing it, though, Manny, for moving back, and now he's able to have a much better contact rate. And then Jackson Merrill just turned back into Jackson Merrill. He morphed back into himself, and I honestly don't see that changing at all for the rest of the season. He's locked in. He's got his attitude back. The most important thing with Jackson is the attitude. When he's got his attitude, he is going to be the player that we all know and love. It's very rarely mechanical. It's all upstairs. He's got, as he says, F you attitude back. Jackson Merrill's back to being Jackson Merrill. And then Ty France. I mean, we talk about this guy almost every week. Like he just continues to impress. Every single game he does something. And by the way, it's not just offensively. Baseball Savant now has a brand new first base defense metric, which I think, as a former first baseman, I think it's awesome. First baseman finally getting their due for what they do on defense. Man, they're just desserts. You're always getting short shrift on people thinking, you just put whatever guy over at first base because that's, it's not as athletic of a position. It is an athletic position. And Ty France, one of the top 5 defensive first basemen in receiving the baseball. That means not only how well he can scoop a ball, which he's very good at, but also footwork around the bag, right? If the ball is up, how well does he get up to get after it? If the ball's up the line or down away from the bag? How well does he move his feet to get to a ball to not let it get by him and maybe allow a runner to advance another base? He's top 5 in baseball at that, which is still astonishing given the fact that 2 years ago, he was metrically the worst defensive first baseman in the game. Last year, he won a Gold Glove as the best in the American League. And this year, he's right back to being one of the absolute best defensive first basemen in baseball. They love having him over at first, that nice target where you just got to get in the area and he's going to be able to make a play for you. All right, so that'll take care of the offensive part of this. I've been impressed with the starting pitching staff. We know how good the bullpen is. We know how good Adrian Morejon is. We know how good Mason Miller is. We know how good the relief corps is, especially on the coattails of pitching chaos, where they had to cover a lot of innings. And I think that's just going to help them be a little more fresh down the stretch. When they get used to stretching out 2-3 innings, they only have to come in and get 4 outs. That's going to help them a truckload. I want to talk about the guys since the trade deadline. All right, we're going to throw out the first start by Casey Mize and Robbie Ray, because both of those were messy. Robbie had 8 days off between starts. Mize had 11 days off between starts. As we talked about on this podcast, that messes with your whole system, man. That messes with your preparation. It messes with your mindset. It messes with it. It just messes with everything. And then in the middle of that, you have to be traded for Mize's case, across the country. You got to go to a brand new city, move everything there, find a place to live. You're going into Arizona where you're not even going to be able to be at home when you're making your first start. Then you got to come back and do the whole thing again. Once they got back onto a 5-day rotation, what they're used to, and their systems got back into how they're used to being, they have been fantastic. I'm going to pull some stats for you. Casey Mize, 2 starts since the trade deadline, 12 innings, 2 earned runs. That's exactly what they were hoping for when they traded for him. Robbie Ray, since after that first start trade deadline, 10 innings, 3 earned runs. I will take that any day of the week and twice on Sunday. But it's not just been those 2 guys who have really solidified, by the way, both going 6 innings in each of the last starts. Casey Mize has gone 6 innings twice in a row. They have had a trickle-down effect on the rest of the starting pitching staff, because it feels like Michael King, Walker Buehler, even Randy Vasquez, they feel like, I think they're like, I don't have to carry everything anymore. I can just go out and be me, and I'm going to have the next guy behind me be as good as I've been. Michael King's starts since the trade deadline, 18 2/3 innings, 6 earned runs. Again, I'll take that any day of the week. Walker Buehler, since the trade deadline, 16 innings, 4 earned runs. Again, I will take that all day. Even Randy Vasquez, 3 starts since the trade deadline, 16 innings, 6 earned runs. You can't ask for a whole lot more than that from your starting pitching staff, right? You're getting these guys who were going deeper into games. And that was the biggest concern that we had, was who's going to eat these innings, that the bullpen has had to be overworked and overstressed, especially when they haven't had David Morgan for a while. He's been hurt. They didn't have Jeremiah Estrada for a while as he was dealing with some injuries. Jason Adam has been out for quite some time, although he's throwing again. There's a remote chance he'll be able to come back before the end of the season. And if you can get that guy back, and you've got now your Estrada, Adam, Morejon, Miller in the playoffs for the final 4 innings, these starters don't even have to get in the 6th in October, which is what they've been doing a very good job of doing. You can shorten games a ton. And with the way this offense is able to score runs early, the Padres will be a very dangerous team moving into the playoffs. And there's one other guy that we would be remiss if we did not talk about, and that is Joe Musgrove. Video of Joe Musgrove here as he was been making a rehab start against Lake Elsinore. Then he made a couple rehab starts with AAA El Paso. And it's great to see Joe back on the mound. It is great to just on any competitive mound, but the fact that he has stretched out each time. He's gone to 70 pitches in his last rehab outing. Joe is traveling out to El Paso right now. He's going to either do one of 2 things, either on Thursday night, be a piggyback behind Johnny Brito. Johnny Brito is still currently scheduled to start on Thursday night. By the way, we're recording this about 2:00 in the afternoon on Thursday. Or he's going to be, there's a TBD for Friday. That means Joe would be starting on Friday. Now, typically, if you're looking at how he was going through his rotation, first start with Lake Elsinore, 4 days, started again. Then 4 days, started again with El Paso. He would have thrown on Wednesday if he was on that same regular rotation. They gave him an extra day or 2 moving into his last rehab start. I was getting a little bit concerned that the fact they did push him back a little bit. But now I know that he's going to be making that start. I think what they're doing is they're like, all right, listen, we want you to be slated for particular spots in the Padres rotation. So they are going to, I'm going to play that video again because it's so awesome to see Joe throwing. I think they're setting him up to come back to the big league rotation. I don't think there's any kind of injury issue or he's more sore. I think what they're doing is they would rather have him on a regular 5-day turn coming back up to make his highly anticipated major league return versus having him do that in the minor leagues and then come back after sitting for 7 days and then, again, like we said with Mize and Ray, get off of his typical rotation, his typical rest, and have to come in and make another start with the Padres, especially because that day is going to be electric. I don't know if it's going to be at Petco Park. I don't know if it's going to be on the road. Hoping it would be now if he throws on Friday, then it would be Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Well, what do you know? That would put him in line to start on Wednesday, which I believe would be the last day of the homestand at Petco Park. What do you know? That would be a tremendous thing to see with Petco Park. Absolutely elect. I'm going to double check the schedule right now because I had a lot of notes and numbers in my head. And for us ADHD brains, lots of numbers flying around is never the best thing in the world. Yes, it's a 1:10 start in the afternoon against the Pittsburgh Pirates. By the way, a team that he used to pitch for. That's who the Padres made the trade with to get Joe Musgrove to come back home to San Diego. So that would put him right on term to throw the final game of the homestand, which, man, I'm telling you also. Now let's take another look at this. Let's see who is scheduled to throw Friday night's game. Minnesota. It's a TBD. So we might be looking at a Randy Vasquez situation there. So they're probably setting Joe up to come back during the homestand, but also to take his normal turn and when he is going to be pitching for the entirety and the duration of the rest of the regular season. Now, they also got him to 70 pitches. He got into the 5th inning. They want to make sure that he can get up to 80, 85 pitches. And also not just that, but getting up and down a bunch of times. That's something you hear pitchers talk about and pitching coaches talk about quite a bit. What it means is they need a guy to be able to get up, throw, come back and sit and be able to rest for a little while and then get himself going again. The more times you do that, it takes something out of you every time you have to go out and sit and then reset yourself and go out and throw up maximum effort again. So the more times he can get up and down, if he can get up and down 5-6 times in this last start with El Paso, whenever that happens to be, then they will know, okay, you feel good the next couple, do you feel good on the day after? Do you feel good 2 days after that? It's that second day. If he feels good on that second day, and then on that third day, he's able to, make his play catch, throw his regular bullpen session, we will know that Joe Musgrove is back for good in the Padres starting rotation. And then just take a look at what they would have heading into the playoffs. It would be Joe, King, Ray, Mize, and a rejuvenated Walker Buehler who's been really good of late. That is, I believe it was AJ Cassavell who said it's not just a good Padres rotation into October. That could be a scary Padres rotation heading into October. Now, again, I'm going to reiterate, we don't know what version of Joe Musgrove we're going to get. Guys coming back from Tommy John surgery notoriously take a while to feel themselves on the mound again, right? They need to feel like they have command of all their pitches. They need to be able to feel the changeup, which is the pitch that Joe told me is the one that was giving his elbow the most issues. So he hasn't thrown the changeup that much. Be able to get the feel for the curveball. The curveball is a feel pitch. The curveball is a feel pitch, right? Where it's you have to be able to not just understand where your body is, but it has to come off your hand a certain way for it to get the proper spin and then locate it properly. Changeup is a feel pitch. Curveball is a feel pitch. A sweeper, to an extent, is a feel pitch. He has to have the ability to feel all of these things and understand where it's going, not just where he starts it, but where he ends it. So once he has all of that down, he will be back. That's the thing that might be a little bit more difficult as he comes back from the Tommy John surgery, because that's the thing that most pitchers do tend to struggle with as they come back from the Tommy John surgery. So we're not sure which version of Joe we're going to get. What I can guarantee you is all the times that I've talked to Joe, what he is He is a competitor. He is a gamer. He is going to come at you with everything he has, and we've seen it how many times with him. He doesn't have his best stuff, and yet somehow he's in the 6th inning with only 2 or 3 runs allowed because he just wills his way deep into games. I would not put it past that guy at all to come back and make an almost immediate impact on this. And hey, Mike showed up. Mike, you said, scary? Lol? Yeah, could be very scary because Casey Mize was the #1 overall pick in the draft out of Auburn. He's an incredibly talented pitcher. Robbie Ray is a Cy Young Award winner. Not many other teams going into the postseason contention can say they have a Cy Young Award winner from the left side, still in his prime on their team. Is a guy who was finished in the top 10 in Cy Young Award balloting, who has shown incredible playoff chops. Just ask the Braves how good he is when he goes 7 shutouts with 12 strikeouts against them. And we've all seen what Joe Musgrove has done in the playoffs. Hey, Buck Showalter, want to check his ears again? That's a guy who has had incredible playoff success. And by the way, the only member of the Padres' current pitching staff who has won a World Series game. So he's a guy who has been there and done that and has a ring. And then Walker Buehler has a World Series ring. He not only has one, he has 2 World Series rings, and he closed out the Dodgers World Series championship in 2024. These guys all have been there. They have this kind of postseason track record or downright stuff, success, pedigree, track record. Yeah, Mike, that's what a scary pitching staff might look like heading down the stretch, especially when you pair it with the kind of bullpen that the Padres have. Mason Miller at the end of that thing terrifies every opposing manager and every opposing hitter who might have to deal with them. He has not allowed a home run to a left-handed hitter since 2024 when current teammate Jackson Merrill took him deep, and it was on that slider, right? He is incredible in the biggest of moments. We saw that in the World Baseball Classic. So yeah, I would say that's a pretty scary pitching staff led by a rejuvenated and restructured starting rotation. Yeah, I'm bullish on this team. I'm very bullish on this team. And I know I have been prone to hyperbole in the past. In fact, I still am now. But why not? Why not? Like, look at it logically and you go, okay, is it as good as what the Dodgers have? No, of course it's not. Is it as good as what the Phillies can run out there with their top 3? No, it's probably not even that. Is it as good as what the Brewers might be able to put out there with Jacob Mizorowski leading the way? Probably not, definitely not at the #1 spot. But here's the thing about the postseason. None of these guys goes deep into games. They don't go 6, 7, 8 innings anymore. It just doesn't happen. So if you can just keep a game close, which is what all of these starting pitchers on the Padres have shown the ability to do, and then turn it over to bullpens late, especially with the Padres' late offensive fireworks that they've had this year, and the fact that their bullpen is very likely the best, and Jason Adam comes back the deepest in baseball. Starting pitching is great, but it's not going to be likely the determining factor unless one of these guys completely implodes and they're down, 7-1 after 3 innings. Then it becomes exponentially more difficult. But you don't have to go out and deal with Tarek Skubal for 9 innings. You don't have to go out and deal with Blake Snell for 9 innings. That's not the way the postseason game is played anymore. You just have to be able to keep it close enough that you can either have a 2-1 lead or have a game tied 3-3 when it gets to the bullpens late in games. That's all you have to do. And that's what this pitching staff is more than capable of pulling off. Mike, would you like to comment back on that one? Let me know back in the chat here. You got about 2.5 minutes left before we got to get on out of here. Okay, so Padres, again, the homestand starts on Friday night. They got the Minnesota Twins, who, by the way, the Twins right there in the American League playoff hunt, which is kind of odd because the American League is very likely going to have a losing team, a team with a losing record, get in the playoffs this year. It is the Rays, the Yankees, the Red Sox. I suppose you could say the White Sox and maybe the Astros, and then a whole bunch of crap. And somebody is eventually going to luck their way or backdoor their way or stumble their way into the postseason, right? And so Minnesota might be there, but they certainly are in the playoff hunt. So you got them for 3 games, and you got the Pittsburgh Pirates coming in for 3 games, and they have been really scuffling of late. I mean, they have not been a very good baseball team. So the Padres have been very good at home. 5-1 in their last homestand. The last time they stepped on the field at Petco Park, they swept the Milwaukee Brewers, who had the best record in baseball at the time. So they still have the best record in the National League. That's a pretty good ball club. But come into this stadium, come into Petco Park, and you, the Friar faithful, love it. I love the fact that you guys are out there and you're giving this team the kind of juice that it needs to get good down the stretch. Hey, Mike's back. Old arms, great bullpen. I agree. Okay, we agree on the great bullpen. And yes, they do have some old arms, but they are not ancient arms. They are experienced arms. Let's say they're well-seasoned arms. I mean, Robbie Ray is the oldest of the group. He's 34 years old. All right, I'm about to hit 51, man. I still feel pretty good. Certainly can't throw with the velocity I used to, but let's not say these guys are old arms. They are experienced arms, and experienced arms in the postseason can make a world of difference. So 3 against the Twins, 3 against the Pirates. Keep on winning. 4-2 homestand will probably keep you at least that 1 game up on the Diamondbacks. I don't know if they'll catch the Philly, especially because Philly obviously has the tiebreaker on them. But again, all you have to do is get into the tournament. I'll give you this as we finish it. 2023, it was the number 6 seed Diamondbacks who went to the World Series and lost to the Rangers, who were the number 5 seed in the American League. All you have to do is get in the tournament. Anything can happen. Thanks, Friar Faithful. That's the On Fire podcast. We will see you next week.